Okay, I think this is a good time. So yeah, again, welcome. I see some familiar names coming in, and maybe this is your first webinar, or maybe not. If it is your first and you'd like to catch up on previous webinars, you can always go to our YouTube channel, check under videos, and we record all the webinars, so you'll find them all there. So today, of course, we're talking about finding your way after the MBA. With me today, I'd like to thank Diana Denise for co-hosting with me today. And yeah, today we're going to explore the topic of careers as a part of your MBA journey, specifically in the context of the International Full-Time MBA program. So Diana is a former recruiter, and she is currently our career development manager at RSM. So thank you for joining, Diana.
You're very welcome.
And of course, yeah, as a former recruiter, I'm sure that you will share some hot tips and insight into the recruiter's mindset. But also, I think today, more specifically, we're going to talk about the career journey for an MBA candidate. So yeah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So welcome everyone. I'm calling in from Rotterdam. So the background is my living room, actually. I think everyone experiences it right now, that we're working a lot from home. A short introduction. So I was born and raised in the Netherlands, specifically in Rotterdam even. But my name says it all. I'm not originally Dutch. My parents are from Portugal. So I was raised bilingual. And actually my career, I've done about 12 years of recruitment and business development in different international companies for a big recruitment company. And then 5 years ago, I felt the urge of actually going more into coaching. So I was at a big FMCG company and I started coaching people there, talent that wanted to develop themselves further. And then a year after that, I actually landed a job at RSM. And since then, I've been the career coach for the full-time international MBA program at RSM. So I've been a career coach or a career development manager for almost 4 years now. So very happy to see you all today. And hopefully I'll give you some insights on what you can expect if you choose to join RSM for the full-time MBA program and what you can expect from careers and from the coaches at RSM.
Yeah, thank you so much, Diana. And I just realized I didn't introduce myself. Of course, I feel like I've been talking and doing these webinars so often, but I am the recruitment and admissions manager for the full-time program, and I specifically look after the EMEA region. So yeah, no, it's great to have you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, Diana. I know that you're super busy, so it's great to have you here, and indeed to talk about the journey of our potential candidates. So just on that, let's just have a look at the agenda for today. We will start with having a look at, timelines, like when do you start thinking about the career journey? So as you know, it's a 1-year program. It's very intense, starting in January and ending sometime in mid-December. So when do you start that journey? We'll have a look at that.
Yeah.
We'll have a look at, where our graduates typically go, what they do. I have 2 comparable years, so we'll have a look at that. And then, of course, Diana will talk us through the journey and what the RSM's career approach is. So we'll continue that and how it looks, how it breaks down from term 1 through term 4. And then, of course, we'll have a look at questions that I get asked very frequently, actually, on calls, which is about corporate engagement and what are the top names, right? I think everybody's interested in that juicy bit. And of course, I think the most important part probably of today's session, to be honest, will be getting your questions answered. And I predict that there'll be a lot of questions in today's session.
Okay.
So without further ado, let's dive in.
Yeah.
So you may have seen this before. It is a part of our brochure. It's the curriculum. And you can see a part of at the very bottom there, you can see the personal leadership development. And this is where I see the career piece fitting in. And you can see that it doesn't start in kind of April, or it doesn't start in October, it starts in January. So really in the first week of your program, you're already going to be having. So let's pick up where we left off.
Yeah, at the beginning of the slides, Relean, so you can pick it up from there.
Yeah,
leadership development.
right. So in conversations with potential MBA candidates, a big question, or a question that I always ask is, what's your motivation to do an MBA? And there's all kinds of wonderful answers. And one of them is really that, well, I want to change my function. I want to change my industry. I want to change my geography. And I want to change in career. So an MBA can really be a catalyst for that change and can really make change happen. And I promised at the beginning that we would have a look at what our graduates typically do and where they go. And there you can see on the left.
Can you share the screen, because I don't see the screen right now, and I think most of the participants can't.
You cannot.
No, I'm not seeing the screen right now.
Christina, if you're there, can you make me host?
Yes, you are host already, Shalin. You should be.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, something is.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. And then you just need to put it as a presentation, and then we will see it in a nice way.
Technical difficulties today.
I think we're all used to it by now, so it's no surprise. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's my day. So yeah, what our graduates do. On the left side of the screen, you will see the class of 2019. And on the right side, you will see the class of 2020. What is very noteworthy here on this slide is that you could see at the bottom the change of function, the change of location, and the change of industry. So the change of industry, 73% of 2019 change industry and 77 of 2020 change industry. Of course, then location is also really high, 76% and 85%. And then thirdly, changing of function is also quite similar, 68% changed function in 2019 and 64% changed function in from the class of 2020. So yeah, this is what we're talking about. As I said, going back to those motivations, is a lot of people say, look, yeah, I really want to change. Some people want to change in three of the two parts. And some people maybe just want to change in function or change in function and location, for example. So the MBA can really make that happen. Now we're going to jump into the MBA Career Centre journey.
Yeah.
This is where I hand it over to Diana.
Yeah, sure.
And she will go through what happens and when.
Yeah, so I think it's important to note that what we really want to emphasize, and you'll see this in term 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to repeat a lot of things, but it's just for you to kind of get to know the flow of the careers program. How we designed it, and it's also typically known for the Netherlands specifically, but also for Europe, is that we emphasize a lot on networking. We emphasize a lot on our alumni database. We have alumni working in magnificent countries in great roles. So what you see is that every term, it's working towards term 4. Term 4 is when the recruitment really starts. You're at the end of your academic year and you can start applying for jobs and going into interviews. So what we're trying to do, we really at the Career Center want you to learn how to network, to build a skill set, certain skills that you need. And when you're there and feel comfortable with it, then you can go and actually succeed during interviews. So as you see in term 1, you start with your academic schedule. Term one, I think it's one of my favorites, but I also see a lot of the MBAs when I'm on campus thinking, what just happened? It's pretty busy on the academic side, very heavy. So what we do with the careers part of it is that we really get alumni on campus that know how you feel, that know what you're going through, that can answer any questions you have, and really give you an honest answer. So you got transparency of what can I expect from the market, what can I expect from my MBA, what can I expect from the job market. At the beginning, we'll emphasize on your CV, and that's specifically for the CV book that the Career Center always makes every year. So we can send it to our corporate relations so they know, as I call it, the DNA of the cohort. Every cohort has a different DNA. So our CV book is there to showcase the new DNA coming in for that year. Term two, you see much more alumni panels coming in because then you're kind of used to the academic flow of it, a bit used to the Netherlands maybe, and then we actually hit you with more events coming up on campus or virtual. It really depends on where the alumni are from. Let me bear in mind, I'm saying on campus. At this moment, everything is virtual still due to COVID. We don't know how it's going to look like, but just know that we still have events going on. So this is how it will look like. Also in term two, we're going to focus a bit on internships. So as Charlene mentioned in the numbers, you see a great transition in especially international mobility. So changing location is one of the, I'm saying, easiest things to do when you sign up at RSM. However, you do see that a lot of alumni also, or a lot of MBAs choose to do an internship just to get a bit of the feel. So in term two, we really focus on, hey, do you want to do an internship? Is it even worth doing an internship? So you get a lot of information on that as well. And we go into the self-marketing bit where you actually start branding yourself on LinkedIn and also on a tailor-made CV towards the industry you want to go to. So term one is really figuring out, what do I want to do? What kind of industry do I want to go into? What kind of roles? You know, maybe you're thinking about being a consultant and then you speak to some alum in term one and then you're not on the consulting path anymore. So by the end of term two, you figure kind of out, okay, this is the area I want to go to. So then you get workshops from the Career Center to really tailor make it to the industry role you want to go to next. As you see, we have problem solving for upgrading your career skills, communication with impact. That's very important, and employers do expect from MBAs to communicate in a simple and effective way, and case interviews as well. Especially for a lot of you that want to go into consultancy, we have a track or extra skill sessions for case cracking. That's very important. Term three.
Diana, can I jump in and ask you a question that often comes up and that you just discussed right now?
Yeah.
So we talked about internships, and you know, I did mention earlier on that it was such a busy year. You know, it's like a pressure cooker, and there's so much going on.
Yeah.
Is there space for an internship during the MBA year?
A very good question. Is there space? You can create space in the sense with your employer. So it's not going to be a full-time internship. Definitely not. The internships take place in term 4, and normally you have electives in your term 4. That means that it's really with the employers to discuss how many days a week you can do an internship. So yes, there is space. Is it going to be challenging? Definitely, to combine your academics and the internship. And that's why in term 2, we give you all the information and you can talk to your assigned career coach. I think that's a very important one as well, to really discuss, okay, what are your hesitations? But yes, it is possible. Just don't think about a full-time internship. That's definitely not possible. So in term 3 is an important step, and a lot of you maybe already know, you have a live-in management project. This is where companies come in. I cannot tell too much about it. We always kind of keep it a secret, but it's a consultancy project that is really interesting. So that's when you already engage with companies as well. So you'll see a company engagement there. Nevertheless, term 1 and 2, you're also engaging with companies. It just doesn't feel like it because it's an alumni. So it's very informal. But know that from term 1, you're exposed to different companies. And then we really focus on case interviews, on structuring that. Also here in term 3, you see that you don't have that much from the career side, from workshops to one-on-one coaching, because we really want you to focus on the LMP project, as we call it. And then in term 4, that's when we feel that our whole program has given you everything you need to actually have a great conversation with companies, go on company visits, ask interesting questions and challenging questions, attend company presentations, see what companies are about, what they bring for you, and if that's a match for you. Sometimes companies come in with a business challenge, just to see how your skills are at. And then they're a reward at the end. Some of the companies that come on campus actually say, well, the one that wins the business challenge has a first interview with us. So that could be all those kind of things. And of course, again, you see the case interviews that goes on. In between, you get interview skills, how to write a good cover letter, how to brand your LinkedIn. So all these workshops are aligned, and you'll see it in one of the slides that is coming up. If you can just click, Charlene, then everyone will see an arrow going. Yeah. So during term 1, 2, 3, and 4, you'll be exposed to backpacking sessions and one-on-one coaching. I'll tell you about what is a backpacking session so you can see it on the next slide. So what we believe in is that in term 1 and 2, we focus on team coaching. We actually create a career backpack team, and that's going to be your team, which you talk with about careers throughout the whole year. As you see, the flow is actually just deepening your self-awareness with the personal leadership development program that RSM offers to really figure out, okay, who am I? What do I want to do next? What aligns with my values, etc. After that, you're going to explore the market. Maybe at this moment, you already think of a company and a role you want to do post-MBA. And you're going to explore, is that really as great as I think it is? While doing that, you're developing your network. We're getting alumni in, we're getting companies on campus, so you have a broad network. And then you're going to compose your self-marketing. So at a certain moment of engaging with the market, creating your own network, you will find out what you want to do next. And if you don't, you have your coach to talk about and to just brainstorm on that a bit. When you do know, then we're going to upgrade your career skills together. So that means in certain industries, there's a certain type of interview style that they use, and all the coaches are prepared to prep you for those interviews. We can go to the next slide. Yeah. So summing it up, this is really a model that is used by the RSM Career Centre. It's we give you tools to engage with the market. During the backpacking session, you'll share, maybe even try it out again. You get tips from the coach, but also from your peers. And then you test and interact with the market again. You share and reflect, and that continues on throughout the backpacking session. You can count on, in term 1, we have 2 backpacking sessions. Yeah, 2 backpacking sessions each term, from 1 to 2 backpacking sessions. Yeah, and then we can go.
I really like this idea of this. It's a continuation, really. It's a cycle. And maybe it doesn't click in on the first go round, let's say, but then you start maybe the second cycle, and you start being more open to different ideas, and maybe you start reflecting more on what's important to you. So I really like this this graphic of having a circular cycle.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned it correctly. I think that all the MBAs that go through the first backpacking session really don't like it, because but that's why you do an MBA as well. And then by the second, third, the MBAs actually see the value. So don't let it go. After the first backpacking session, it's very normal to think, oh, this is very challenging. I made just another slide to show you how big the program is, because I don't think the first one reflected really well on, okay, what does careers offer? So on the green, I'm just going to highlight it in color. On the green, you see everything that we offer as sessions. So that has all to do with developing your skills, figuring out what you want, getting ready to network with the market, communication skills, etc. So that's all in the green. And there's much more, but just I'd highlighted the ones that I feel that are most attended by the MBAs at this moment. Then the yellow underneath, those are all the corporate activities that we have. So that's engaging with the outside world, the job market, let's say. And in the blue, you see you have career backpacking sessions first, and that smooths over into individual career coaching. You actually get your assigned coach immediately in term 1. So you'll know, okay, Diana will be my career coach for the whole year. And even after your academic year stops, I'm still going to be your coach until you land that job. So that's, I think, important to emphasize here as well. Does it mean you cannot get one-on-one coaching in term 2? You can. So if you're stuck because you still don't know what you want, you can always reach out to your coach. We just don't heavily promote one-on-one coaching at that moment because we really believe it's about team coaching first and engaging with the market. But there's always a possibility. So we're really very flexible on that. Yeah, we can go to the other one, I guess. Yeah, so I wanted to share this because I think one of the important questions any MBA will ask, or future MBAs. So what kind of companies do people go to, or what are your corporate relations? So I just shared one of the pages of our CV book with leading recruiters of 2020 and 2021. We all know it wasn't an easy year, but when you see this, it looks like actually a very successful year. We still had a lot of companies recruiting, and some of the names you see back every year. I can name Amazon, always on campus, always coming back every year. We have FMCG companies that come on a regular basis as well, so our MBAs are very drawn to that. Tech, so you see these are just to give you a kind of view on, okay, what kind of companies actually recruit MBAs or where MBAs land a job. So it doesn't mean that they all come on campus, but these are the companies where MBAs do land their job. Where can you find them? So when do you engage with them? As I mentioned, alumni panels that we have Ask the Expert events. So sometimes it's not even an alum, but an expert in the field that we invite in to tell the MBAs a bit more about a certain industry. We have forums and fairs. For example, this year, we had the Retail and Luxury Fair that I host every year with 6 other business schools in Europe. And we combine all the MBAs are very passionate about the Retail and Luxury Fair. So there's where you also meet the companies and company reps. Of course, we have LMP, where you also meet the companies, business challenges, master classes that we organize. Mostly those are given by alum that really want to share and feel, hey, this is something I would have loved to know when I was doing my MBA. Company presentations, we call it company presentations instead of recruitment events, because we do see company coming on campus, and when they come, they don't always have the vacancies open yet, but they do want to brand themselves and get to know the MBA. So that's why we always refer to them as company presentations. Yeah, and a corporate engagement that's not directly with the companies, but it's of course our career portal or vacancies are posted by our corporate relations. So I think that's an interesting one to know as well. Next to LinkedIn, we have our own career portal where our recruiters place their vacancies because they prefer RSM MBAs.
Yeah, thank you, Diana. Actually, this is a really nice slide for me to look at. I'm I think more of a visual person, but what I really jumps out to me here is the variety of companies. So it's really kind of like, yeah, there's tech, yeah, but there's also banking, there's also FMCG. So it's really kind of solid across the board. So it really, it does reflect on those graduate numbers when you see, well, where do our graduates go? You can see from this that it is really across all different industry, right?
Yeah, and I think it's also important to know that, most, let's say a cohort of 150 MBAs go to 90, if not 100 different companies. So it's interesting to know as well that, just to emphasize on where did you go? You go everywhere. It's a very diverse cohort. There's not every cohort with different DNA still go to 100 plus different companies. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it's worth noting that, if the company of your dreams isn't on this list, it doesn't mean that you can't go there. It's not, this isn't a limited list of potential companies that will hire. The Career Centre is there to support you in seeking out that job.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's question time.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I have a couple of questions for Diana to answer. So for students who are looking to change function industries, how would we convince employers that we can transition into something completely different? Are employers open-minded and flexible?
Okay, good question. I think Charlene invited me in because I do have the recruitment background, so I am going to give you an answer that sometimes is not always the one you want to hear, but it is I am honest. So I think that's why I was invited in as well, so you get a full answer. Employers are open, yes. However, the competition is fierce. So that means that the Dutch, and I'm referring to the Dutch labor market, but I think in Europe in general, but just to give you a kind of insight on this, I think at the moment we see that every vacancy gets at least 200 applications, every vacancy posted. So I think it's important, yes, you can change industries and functions. You just have to brand your CV in a certain way. So it's all about the branding and the marketing of yourself towards an employer, that an employer really gets the idea, okay, this person can do that. Doing an MBA definitely helps, but it's also about your extracurricular activities. So let's say at this moment you're an engineer and you want to move into a sustainability role. You want to be a sustainability consultant. Then it is important to not only showcase your MBA, but maybe what have you done on the sustainability front, extracurricular during the program, to actually give yourself a good chance within the market because it's so competitive. So yes, the employers are open-minded. Unfortunately, we just don't know what the competition is doing. So we try to coach you towards, okay, if this is the way you want to go, how are we going to brand it? How are we going to highlight that on your CV and your cover letter? Does that answer the question?
I'm sure it does.
Let us know.
That was a great answer. Perfect. We have another question from Avinash. I want to know exactly when to start applying for full-time jobs. Is it when term 4 starts, and when we can join the full-time job?
Okay, very good question. On the first one, it's not September that you start applying. Some actually, another good, very recent experience, and I'm talking about the MBA 21. When they started, COVID hit. That had impact on their budget for some of them because of currency issues, etc. So I had some MBAs that started applying in May for jobs because they wanted to make sure that they could start and they had a job immediately after their academic year. Some employers didn't accept that because, of course, they're interviewing and they want you to start ASAP. But there were some employers that said, yeah, okay, we're recruiting you now and we're fine to wait until your academic year ends. So on the question, when should I start applying? It's a very individual moment, depending on your budget, depending on what you want to get out of the program. So there, you're never too early to apply. There is a moment that you're going to be too late to start your applications. But in general, most people start after the summer break and some just a bit before. And then the second question was, when can you start working, right?
Exactly, indeed.
Yeah. So when can you start working? In principle, it's after graduation. So that's March. That's the official date that you can start working. There have been, I think, your academic year ends in December. If you want to stay in the Netherlands, you have to prove that you finished your MBA and that you graduated already. That's why we say in March. So I think it's important to know you can start in March. Exceptions are made where some alumni started in February. But I'm not going to go too much detail in that. If you start a program, then I can tell you exactly what it is for your situation. But hopefully you get a kind of an idea.
Perfect. Thanks, Diana. Another question would be, how is the job market in terms of language? Is it required to learn Dutch? Maybe this question can be answered by Charlene as well. Yeah, do we require Dutch here in the Netherlands to be able to find a job?
I can answer that. No, some industries, yes. So when I say some industries, there are some consultancy firms that say Dutch is required. And still, every year our MBA land jobs there. So, it's all about the network. But I think there's less emphasis on Dutch. Marketing. Marketing is something that we see sometimes in marketing roles that Dutch is necessary, or in HR roles. And still, there are enough roles where English is only required. So specifically in the Netherlands, because this person asked, is Dutch required? In the Netherlands, you'll see that without Dutch, you can definitely make it.
Yeah, I get that question a lot in consultation sessions, and that's exactly it. You have more choice. There are more jobs available to you if you have Dutch proficiency. But of course, there are absolutely jobs available with proficient English.
And I think the most important thing here, and that comes back to like, what kind of impression do you want to give your employer? I think in the Netherlands, they really value if you know how to say, oh, good morning, how are you? So that you kind of know the language. Don't kid yourself. Proficient Dutch is really hard. So to get to the business Dutch that the companies are asking for, that's not going to happen within a year or two. So just know there are a lot of options out there for English. It's always good to pick up a bit Dutch because you do see that employers do appreciate that, but they won't require you to speak Dutch for the job.
Perfect. Thank you both. Then we have Sanjay asking that he would like to know how is the ESM looks at the candidate who have more than 9 years of experience. I've heard that the business schools are apprehensive about admitting such a candidate because of the fear that placing them would be difficult.
I think the ESM should read RSM. I assume that's us.
Yeah, I guess so. So.
And if it and the question is, if with 90 years experience we're hesitant because of the placement?
Exactly. So we're
looking at changing careers.
Okay. So this is it, and I think this is interesting. In some business schools, we talk about placement at RSM. You know, we believe that our MBAs always find their jobs and they place themselves. So we don't place candidates. So that means that there are companies hiring for 9 years experience. I do think about, do you want to stage location, industry, and role immediately with 9 years of experience? It's harder to sell, but we have done that before. So I don't think, you know, if I look at the current cohort, there are people with 9 years of experience and they still make that transition. So that's my opinion. Charlene, I don't know what your opinion is on it, but.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you, Diana. I mean, we've had 9 years experience. On average, our cohort has about 6.5 years experience. And so there are a lot of people in the class every year with upwards of 9 years experience, and that it doesn't pose a problem. Of course, yeah, nothing comes without work and effort, but absolutely, if that's what you want to do, then it's absolutely possible, sure. Let's have a look at Matthew. Thanks for your question. Are there any particular sectors likely to grow in the Netherlands over the next few years?
Ooh, now I wish I had the list that I made ago. In the Netherlands, that's going to be hard. So to be fair, we don't only look at the Netherlands, but in Europe or globally. What you see is, of course, e-commerce is still booming. We don't think that's going to change. Positions within digital transformation positions are really high up. I remember when COVID hit, consultant companies freeze their hiring, and now they're hiring like crazy again. So I can tell you that as well. Which sectors as well? Yeah, sustainability. I mean, it has been a while for the Netherlands, but the Netherlands is very heavy on sustainability. So I think that's still growing. Is that an industry? Not specifically. I'm talking more on the roles, because you see that every company is implementing that a lot and is fierce on it at the moment. So yeah, sorry, I cannot, this is just top of my mind. I'm thinking, yeah, we see e-commerce technology, of course, and you see a booming in Amsterdam, the startup tech companies just popping up everywhere. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dana. I can take this one. Can you throw some light on visa requirements post MBA? So this is an area where the Netherlands is very strong. They have a 1 year search visa. They have a 1 year working visa. so basically if you come to do your MBA, you'll get an 18-month student visa for the 12-month program. And then after that, as you've done postgraduate studies in the Netherlands, then you're entitled to the orientation visa, which is a 1-year full working visa. So you don't have to rely on a hiring company to get your visa.
We will, however, we will always coach you towards and having conversations with the employer that offers you a job to get immediately the work permit. But it definitely eases it up because you can work for a year without them applying for it. So some companies actually have the policy that you need to, use your searcher visa first as kind of a trial period, and then they apply for your work permit. However, we as coaches, we really do try to see, okay, how can you engage and convince them to do it otherwise? Because this year searcher visa, you can use it up until 3 years after graduation. So it's always nice to not immediately use it if it's not necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a good strategy.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more question. Is the lack of pre-MBA international experience a barrier in securing a full-time job post-MBA? So if you only have experience in your local country?
No, Vishnu, I can say no, in the sense of like a lot of MBAs in every cohort only worked in their own country where they come from. That's why they do an international MBA, right? So I think it's great. You immediately get international experience just by doing an international MBA and being exposed to so many different cultures. So that is definitely not something only specifically maybe in a job vacancy where they say, oh, you need to have to work with in the Benelux region, but I don't see that a lot. So no, that's definitely not a problem.
Okay.
Okay. I see one from Minutes. What's the process in getting work permits approved from the Dutch government? Is there any quota or restrictions? Okay. So what's the process of getting work permits? I have to say for the Netherlands, it's quite smooth. A company that is already registered at the IND. So we have the IND where companies register, and as soon as they're approved, they can just actually apply for your working permit. What they do have to do when we talk about a high-skilled immigrant visa, because that's the one that if you have a post-MBA job, that's the visa that the employers will ask for, is that they do need to prove, and that's up to them to say, okay, we want to hire this talent, international talent, because we feel it matches because this person has an MBA and this background and would fit this vacancy. I haven't had, and I've been here for 4 years, 5 cohorts, I didn't have any work permit being disapproved yet so far. And that means 5 cohorts long. So it's pretty easy, easy process. It is 6 to 8 weeks. Some corporates, international firms here have a fast track. So it only takes 3 weeks from application to getting the work permit. But I always say just keep in account as soon as you're hired and they're going to process your work permit, it takes around 6 weeks.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Diana. I have a couple of questions for you myself, ones that come in consultation sessions with potential candidates. The first one is, I don't really know exactly what I want to do. I have a general idea, but I'm not 100% clear. Is that going to be a problem for me when I start my MBA?
Absolutely not. And it's great that, of course, we would love for you to have it clear, but I have to tell you, people that do have it clear right now will get very confused after term 1 because you get so exposed to so many topics and so many interesting things that you start doubting, is this really what I want? So definitely no worries if you don't know yet. Just don't underestimate how much work it is and self-reflection to figure it out. So I think it's really allocating time for that moment of reflection, what you want to figure it out. The program is not going to hand it to you just by sitting in class or talking to some alum. So I think it's important to emphasize, but definitely don't worry. A lot of some people actually know and then start doubting after term 1.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think being exposed to such a diverse cohort probably makes you change your mind and change it back. And we have a question here. Thank you, Vishnu. Are the pre-MBA salaries important? Is it a key factor during placements?
And I don't really understand the question, I think, Vishnu, because I'm thinking, is it important in the sense, is an employer going to ask about it? No, at least not. So I don't know how important is it. I think experience is it. Like the salary indication or the offer that you will get is really based on your experience, how many years you've been working. So in that case, if an employer asks, well, what's your previous salary? Actually, not a lot of them do. And we coach you to actually not answer that question, because what you earned before has nothing to do with what you want to do next. So I hope I answered your question, Vishnu. If not, put it in the Q&A box so you get a better response if necessary.
Perfect. And I have another question here. Can the international non-EU student start a part-time internship whenever they can, say April or so? Or is there a waiting period before starting work? So can a non-EU student start a part-time internship?
So non-EU students, actually non-EU and EU, but we have an internship agreement in place that's specifically for non-EU students. So you can actually do an internship during your academic year. Now, you may know, we're not going to sign off on it as a career center. We don't sign off on internships in those periods because you have a full-time class to attend to first. You know, you're investing in your MBA, so make sure you attend the classes. That's the most important. So for the career center, it's really up from a certain stage, depending on the program, when we start signing off on internships. Yeah. And normally that's after the summer break when you start your electives. So just to give you kind of a feel of that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there are not any more open questions.
No?
No more open questions.
I see Sarah raised hand. I don't know if
raised hand. Here we go. Sanjay, can you please elaborate on the non-EU specific internship agreements you were talking about?
Yeah, sure. It's actually an internship agreement that's signed by RSM, by you, and the company. So it's a 3-party way. The first thing it's what's really important in this agreement is actually the objectives of your internship. Why are you doing it? What do you want to get out of it? It's really important to mention that. So it's not, so we can really make the due diligence as you're doing an internship and not cheap labor, to be very honest. So we're making sure what objectives do you want to get out of your internship. And actually every non-EU and EU students will sign this agreement anyway. So we can make sure that the company co-signs on it and that you can always go back to agreement like, okay, but this is what I wanted to learn. This is what we agreed on. And I'm just making copies, for example. So I think that's important to know. Yeah.
Okay.
Will the internship be paid? Winston, it all depends on you. We have paid internships in the Netherlands. So yes, we have students that did unpaid internships. So most of them are paid. And when I say it's up to you, some have a standard remuneration that they give you, and others actually negotiate. I am Dutch. Winston, you're Dutch. Will the internship be paid? Still the same answer, Dutch or non-Dutch. It really depends.
Yeah. So Diana, a final question that I have for you is what kind of common theme or the most common challenge do your candidates have? So somebody comes to you, what is that that thing that they struggle with most? Is it deciding what they want to do? Is it that's the confidence for going into an interview? Is it doing their LinkedIn? Is it networking? Or is it all? I mean, what is the common theme here?
I love this question because it goes depending on the term. So I go like this. So at the beginning, it's not, I get a lot of MBAs that are still stuck, not knowing what they want to do. Another one is networking is new for a lot of people from different cultures. It's not that known. So it's also awkward. How am I going to network? Does this even work? So the awkwardness around that. So it's definitely term 1, 2, even 3, not knowing what to do, what to focus on, and then also just getting the skills to have a conversation. Then it goes into, and I think the biggest struggle that a lot of MBAs face is rejection. You all come maybe from top tier high schools, were picked up off of campus for your first job, and then suddenly you get rejection after rejection. So I think facing rejection, and we really advocate to start early because then it hurts less and you don't have anything to lose. If you start in September, then, but everyone goes through it. It's facing rejection, thinking that you don't have anything to add, emphasizing on, oh, it must be my CV and experience. And a lot of times it's not, it's really the competition. So I think those are the main things that people struggle with and that I coach on. When you talk about interviews, yes, people struggle with it, but we do mock interviews. So MBAs get, the first time they're still struggling, the second time they feel better. So we really prep you for it. But I think those 3 are the main themes that we find a lot. Yeah. Also figuring out, do I want to go back home or stay is also one of the questions. Sometimes a lot of people want to stay and then figure out maybe not. So those are some of the topics that we address during coaching.
Thank you, Diana. It is certainly, that's what we call it, a journey, I suppose, because you go through all of these big questions, so it's great that you and the team in the whole careers team are there for our MBAs and to help them along with this journey. I want to thank you for sharing your insight. It's been lovely having you here. Lovely chatting to you, and we had a couple of IT problems, or I had tech problems, but we got there in the end. So yeah, thank you so much for your time. If you guys have any questions, you can always pop me a mail at sbell, that's SBELL at rsm.nl, and I'd be happy to answer them for you. Thank you very much for joining us, and see you next time.
Thank you. See you guys. Bye.